And welcome back to Janky AF and You're the Aerostar. Boy, have we have a treat for you today. First off, I'm going to crack this Old Milwaukee non-alcoholic. And I usually put a fresh lime in it, but today we got a little bit of Concord Foods lime juice that you can keep around if you ever run out of limes. Put one in there in a pinch. All right. With a little lime in it. Delicious. All right. So without further ado, here we have a 1990 Ford Aerostar. This says extended minivan. Now this is in Monroe, New Jersey. It's listed for $6,900. 57,000 original miles. Automatic transmission. It says gray. It's more of a brown over gold. And that's where we'll start because this is a breathtaking color with this little red pinstripe that's coming in here. This brownish, grayish, goldish brown is a really rare Aerostar color, and I have a feeling it was only made for like the earlier ones. Now, there's so much to say about this Aerostar. Before we go through all the pictures, I just want to jump back and so I can do them sequentially and give you a little tease of the interior here. Now, things to note, this is the sort of first generation interior, we'll call it. So it has the floor mounted giant shifter. Now, of course, the manuals had this, but it's funny that the automatics had it too. And this is like a car-like feature of the Aerostar. The Aerostar also had a manual handbrake as opposed to like a foot handbrake. Like the lever. So it has these features that are very car-like about it. So going back to the exterior, wonderful one for full color. This is a cream puff in beautiful, beautiful condition, much different than the last one we saw. I do like these little sort of colored, black colored inserts within the gold bumpers too. I believe those went away. I believe that was also a minor, subtle bumper aesthetic alteration that was made after let's see, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, after 91, so probably 92. The other reason you can tell this is a 90, as we look at a beautiful, beautiful profile shot of this Aerostar, and it is just glistening. I really like these alloy wheels. I like Aerostars that, now I love steel wheels, but the alloy wheel was sort of like a, it's not rare, but I feel like less people chose it. You see a lot of hubcaps, so the factory alloy wheels is really, really cool. I like the sort of like a, mini version of the Corvette slicer wheel because it has this directionality to it. I mean, what can you say? The color combination. Now, two-tone was a thing that, a lot of cars did in this era. Ford did it a lot, but I think on these, especially in this color combination, just looks perfect. So another great thing about Aerostars is, and now I actually don't know which years it was. It's funny because they hopped up in technology and went to this digital display after initially having an analog one, and then they actually went back to an analog one in the later years. My guess is because it was unreliable and it faded. Very similar to the Corvette display from a little bit earlier than this. Very, very similar actually. But one thing I really love is you see this actual picture of an Aerostar. And that's the thing a lot of modern cars do. It's way ahead of its time. Like I was just driving my folks' Tesla Model 3 today, and that has a little mini Tesla on the screen. You can change the color, blah, blah, blah. But I feel like cars have done this a lot recently, where you get this little avatar of your car, others than Tesla as well. So this was quite ahead of its time there to show not just like some, clip art vehicle, but an actual like Aerostar seen from over top here, which looks very, very nice. The other great thing to note aesthetically here is the sort of RPM gauge that like runs up to the right there in a nice little bend. You got your, looks like either your mileage, I hope that's not your mileage, 11 miles per gallon. Hopefully it's how much fuel you have left. But it's probably not in this case, judging by the fuel meter. So beautiful, beautiful digital gauge display. And this is a really, really amazingly spec'd Aerostar. Now, in the front, you see this grille. You see there's, actually, this is, let's see, 86, 87, 88. Oh, okay, so 86 through 88 was the 5-spoke grille, and then 89, 90, 91, they went to the modern grille, which is the 3-spoke grille, but the Ford logo is in the center. So you're getting a little Aerostar history and trivia here. Now that was from 89, 90, and 91. And then it went to the same 3-spoke, but the Ford symbol moved up to the top. And I've seen on like forums and stuff that people really like this grille, and I have to agree. It's just the sort of how everything's very centralized, and the symbiosis of everything is very, very nice. I'm not sure why they put it at the top. I think that the ones at the top look fine, but certainly this is like a rare item, only having been made for 3 years, and it's sort of like a hybrid between the first grille and the last grille, because the first, which was a 5-spoke grille without these sort of like angular fins, just straight bars, that also had the Ford logo in the center. The rear shot's just as good as the front. You know, these tailgates, I believe, are made out of a composite material. I'll probably end up saying a lot, but I think that's something to note. And I also joke with people that it's a semi-side exhaust, because the exhaust has this great little bend to the right. So if you want to imagine it coming out the side, you kind of can. It's kind of funny to say your Aerostar has, you know, side exhaust on it. Looks like this has a factory roof rack as well. I love that the pinstripe and the gold is sort of carried onto this tailgate, because it dips down into your bumper line there, and there's this, and so you get the little bit of extra gold in the bottom. Just a really cool little aesthetic touch. So the interior, and it has the, you know, color-coded door switches on it, which is really, really cool. You know, plain Jane, but I have to say I have an Aerostar with this interior too, and this one is incredibly well preserved. These seats are beautiful. None of the plastic is sort of like melting in the sun as it is on mine. Everything just so basic in here, you know, so just utilitarian. And it's cheap plastic, but like, who really cares? You know, it's this utilitarian object, and I think it actually looks quite nice. It looks quite you know, comfortable in here. I don't know if I'd go so far as to say luxurious. But certainly, excuse me, not a bad place to be at all. You have these wonderful pads on the doors that are like carpeted with this sort of like vinyl piping, as you'll see in some other shots. Now, here we have these little, it reminds me of the Grateful Dead dancing bears. That's why I think it's so funny, and they're all dancing under the sun. What this is this is an Eddie Bauer edition. That's why the listing of this is funny, because it's actually not an extended minivan. It's the regular, it's the short, people say short wheelbase. The wheelbase was the same. It's the short version. It's like the standard version. Then you have an extended version or extended edition, but not extended wheelbase. It's actually not technically accurate. But this is not. This is the standard version, not the extended. That's funny. And they also don't mention that it's an Eddie Bauer edition, which is like a huge deal. Like Ford Aerostar was one of the first cars, certainly first minivans, to sort of adapt this, like these designer versions. And the fact that you had an Eddie Bauer edition of the Aerostar is such a cool thing. Now, this is a little teaser, because if you watch some of the other videos, you'll see that I have recently acquired a $10 Jetta that was once owned by the real Eddie Bauer. And by that I mean his name is actually Eddie Bauer. He has no affiliation with the company. So I'm planning to turn my Jetta into an Eddie Bauer edition, but that's neither here nor there. See the other profile there? Just, you know, I could go on about the details. The wheel arches are beautiful. These lines, well, I'll go into on a later Aerostar. That's not such a cream puff like this, and we'll get more into the nitty gritty of the design. But you have all these, you have this balance or harmony, or tension a little bit of all these angles going in different directions. So you have all these angles going to the right, you have the hood line, you have the window line, you have your inner fender flare here on the sliding door, and then you have all these lines coming back the other way, the tailgate, the windows. See how this window comes, is you know, shooting backwards. Your headlight bezel shoots the other way. So you have this like weird like crossing always going on. I just think it's a very, very interesting sort of design language. I love the front of the Aerostar. If you look at these things at the right angle, you can't really, it looks flat almost. It's like a smush face dog or something like that. And it just looks like a spaceship, because you can't really tell what's where in terms of your depth of field. Very, very just iconic look. I can't get enough of the front of these things. I love the front. I do really like you know, the face of cars. The sort of they give you sort of a character, like a dog or something like that. Again, the Eddie Bauer stuff all the way in the back. Look at how much, you know, you got 2 on the front, and then 2 on your bench, and then 3 in the back. They went to the trouble for doing all these Eddie Bauer logos on the seats, Looks like they've been freshly vacuumed. I love the gold interior all the way around with, you know, your little black plastic pieces. So sort of a nice contrast. I love a black and tan interior, any configuration of a black and tan interior. I believe this did have cruise control. Now mine is missing this great little steering column box, and it looks really, really good with it in place. See, like, it looks like you have an EQ on your radio. Actually, a fairly robust EQ down there. His shifter is so funny. It's like straight out of an economy car. It's so funny. You can see the handbrake there. The Eddie Bauer edition had these sweet center console bins, which I'm not sure if all of them did. Boy, you can just see even the floor mats, the driver's side floor mat. That's a good indicator of wear, and if they're in good shape, then you know it's been well taken care of. The engine bay also looks extremely clean. Now this is going to be a V6 of some variety. It's probably the 3.0 or 4.0. I'm guessing it's probably the 3.0. I think the 4.0s came in a little later, so the 1990. But I could be wrong about that. Now, another amazing feature this car has, and maybe all Eddie Bauers were this way, but I'm not sure, is the folding bench. You would see in some old Aerostar commercials, this folding bench, and it turns into a bed, and it's like, you know, hashtag van life 30 years before. You could have a sleepover party in here as like, you know, camp in it, you know, sit under the stars, the Aerostars, no pun intended. Just a genius piece of designing, and they're not stow and go. Now, agreeably or admittedly, these seats are a little cumbersome, especially compared to modern cars. They're heavy, they're bulky, but it was what they had at the time, and they're certainly sturdy. And so this bed is just perfect, waiting right there for you. You don't have to take all the seats out and put a bed in. They're right there. Beautiful Aerostar. Boy, I'm just blown away. Now, I have to say that these videos are very bittersweet for me because I don't want to be the person, and basically I secretly hope that no one watches these videos because I sort of have, I guess, fear of like being that guy that like raises the price on something. Now, I'm probably giving myself way too much credit and giving the Aerostar way too much credit, that these are actually going to like sort of take off as a collectible. And even if they do, the nice thing is there was over 2 million of them made, and you're still seeing cream puffs like this pop up. People, you know, they made so many of them that even the people that a lot of people didn't take care of them, but there's enough made that some people did. And so really nice ones like this are still out there. So just a really beautiful 1990 Ford Aerostar extended minivan, even though it's the regular, not the extended. So this has been the Year of the Aerostar, episode 2. Please join us for the next one. Janky do Thanky.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.